Welcome to week 11 of ecology. We only have a handful of weeks left together and actually only 2 more lectures, including this one. We've come quite a long. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient. It's a major component of DNA and RNA, ATP, as well as phospholipids. It's a major component in bone structure and is often a limiting element in terrestrial and aquatic environments. Because it's a limiting nutrient, rocks and sediments are extracted for fertilizers. So it's the main component of fertilizers. There are 5 main processes that drive the phosphorus cycle. The first is weathering of rock by either rain or wind. When water runs over the rock, some of the phosphate that is contained in the rocks, this phosphorus is released through leaching, and it's then incorporated into soils and carried into freshwater ecosystems, rivers, for example, and then ultimately it ends up in the ocean. Assimilation is the process where primary producers take up phosphorus and incorporate it into their living tissue. So when an herbivore consumes primary producers, they also incorporate some phosphorus into their living tissue and excrete a portion back into the terrestrial or the aquatic environment. For our case study this week, it is about this incredible symbiosis between plants and mycorrhizal fungi, which make phosphorus available to plants to be able to uptake. Just as in the carbon and nitrogen cycles, mineralization occurs when decomposers turn organic forms of phosphorus into inorganic forms. And this is done by scavengers and detritivores first, then bacteria and fungi further break down that phosphorus. When this inorganic phosphorus reacts with dissolved minerals, it becomes a form of phosphate that cannot be used by plants. And this process is called precipitation. The inorganic phosphorus precipitate in aquatic systems sinks and is buried, becoming rock. Finally, that phosphorus-rich sediment is buried and transformed by high pressure and temperatures at a depth usually after it's been subducted into rock, which is then uplifted by these tectonic forces, beginning the phosphorus cycle all over again. Of the cycles, the phosphorus cycle is the longest, and it takes approximately 20,000 to 100,000 years to complete this weathering, precipitation, and tectonic uplift cycle. Humans alter and impact the global phosphorus cycle through 2 major processes. The first is, as you can see here, mining for fertilizer, which is unfortunately very detrimental to the environment. And then the second, because phosphorus is often a limiting nutrient in both terrestrial and especially aquatic systems, runoff from fertilized fields often creates dead zones, which are anoxic and toxic. And so in these aquatic systems, because phosphorus is limiting, when it gets pulsed into these systems from runoff from agricultural fields, the phytoplankton will have this huge bloom. And after it blooms, what ends up happening is a lot of the phytoplankton will die and they'll sink to the bottom. And so when they're being decomposed by the bacteria, etc., the bacteria are consuming up all of the oxygen that's there as they're degrading all of that phytoplankton biomass. And so it's the degradation of that biomass that essentially uses up all of the oxygen in these systems and creates these dead zones. So for our very last portion of our phosphorus cycle, there is a case study on mycorrhizal fungi. And there is also a discussion for you to work on, and I'm looking forward to reading everyone's input and thoughts there. And I wish you a very good week, and we will catch up soon.